Hey, this is Em here, and I am super excited to share some of this footage from my first solo trip to Montenegro. This trip had a lot of funny moments, awkward moments, challenging moments, and things like that come with traveling solo. When I was looking at some of the video myself, I realized that there were some moments that I had forgotten about. And I went to go look at my footage and edit my videos. I lost all the audio on some of my video footage. So I had to kind of improvise. With that being said, some of the footage that you're gonna see, I had to do a recording over in order to like kind of just talk through some of the things that were going on, because for some reason my sound went away. But this trip was full of so many just memorable moments, and I felt so excited to like do my best to try and just capture some of the beauty of this trip, of this gorgeous country of Montenegro. And I hope that you will enjoy this. So check it out. For my second day in Montenegro, I had absolutely no plan. The big idea was just for me to just really just soak in the environment. I found that I got so comfortable with where I was, I sort of eliminated my previous plans, and I just spent most of the time just kind of walking around. I discovered this little park near where the cruise ships dock, and I just spent a lot of time there just sitting around and just taking it in. There was no major plan. They had lots of opportunities for like if I wanted to go caving, if I wanted to go out on a boat or different things like that. But I ended up just actually ended up napping later that day, and then I napped shortly after that, and then I decided I was going to go back up that mountain and go to the fort, because that first trip I went up to the top of that hill, and that I realized that that wasn't going to get me to the fort. But anyway, I decided to take the other pathway this time that would get me to the fort. Now there are technically a couple different pathways. There's one where you can pay to go up, and it's directly in the fort, and it was like €8 or something like that. But I chose to take the free way into the fort. So it caused me to go up this extremely dangerous rocks and through that tiny little a tiny little window where there was light. But I did get up there in spite of my fear of heights. I actually am very afraid of heights, but I decided like I have to do this, and that view was worth that, taking that risk for. It was such a happy feeling being up there. There were plenty of people who've been up there for a long time and just stayed up and just took in the scenery. Sometimes like some parts of the fort were kind of rickety, and it just had such an old feel to it. You really, at least for me, I really was very aware that I'm walking through such like old like ruins and things like that, and it just felt unreal. It felt like I would transform back to another time. And so that was pretty remarkable too. But again, like there were a lot of like little scary stairs and things like that, but I didn't really notice the danger of some of the things until after, when I looked at some of this footage when I was trying to edit. But it's crazy because you can see way down into the bay, and I could even see where I was staying, the hostel I was staying in, from all the way up there. But it was an absolutely breathtaking view. And again, that down there, that was the or the paid route I could take, but instead I took this way back. And then at this point, I was in a big hurry to leave because the sun was starting to set, and it takes quite some time to get down that hill. I want to say it took, I don't remember off the top of my head. I want to say 30-40 minutes or something like that, but it was quite an adventure. From this point, I was running. I truly was literally running, just trying to race time because I didn't want to be up there by myself at dark. Fortunately, by the time I got on the path, there were people who were maybe a little bit ahead of me. They actually stopped and chatted with me. I mean, we didn't really speak the same language, but just tried to say hi, and they pointed at something I had, and we like smiled and laughed and definitely had a good moment there. And I had a lot of time where I just was reflecting on just the beauty of the trip and how it was worth all the bruises and ankle twists and things like that, because I was not dressed right to go up that hill. So then, the last day I was there, it was pretty rough to be able to be saying goodbye to such a comfortable place. I was so glad to have stayed in the hostel. It's called Hostel Pupa, spelled Pupa. And this is actually where I fell off. This is the bunk that I fell off of. I don't know why I chose that top bunk. I think maybe there was only that bed available, but I'm very tall, so like it's just it was just a bad combination of things. So I did have a really bad fall. It took some of the bruises took, I want to say, about 2 weeks to go away. But anyway, I just wanted to record the video of this hostel because I just thought it was so beautiful. It was very quaint. It had like a community area. I used that community area by like I went up there and I had brought food and I sat up there and had my own time. But you also could interact with other people if you wanted to. There, it was very comfortable. But then anyway, I was on my way back from the hostel and or on my way back to the capital, and I just thought that the view was so breathtaking. So I just had to include some of the footage from this beautiful bus ride to get back to the capital. I want to say it was probably like an hour and a half to get to Podgorica from Kotor. So it was really cool just to see that beautiful view. I had brought a bunch of books and everything like that. I was counting on just like reading my books. I could not keep my eyes off this window. I was constantly looking out, looking at the gorgeous views of the coast. I made sure to get a bus or a seat on the bus where I could get a good view of all the hills and mountains. But sometimes I'd look down the hill and I'd see like old ruins, and it was just absolutely stunning. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. Yeah, it was just gorgeous ride, gorgeous scenes. I just absolutely love this country. So I feel like I did this trip in a fairly introverted way. I had made sure because I knew because this was a solo trip, there was already going to be some uncomfortable feelings. I already knew how I was going to possibly feel a little awkward and things like that. So I tried to put myself in a situation where I was kind of forced to interact, and just so that way I can still have plenty of good interactions and experiences with people while I'm traveling solo. So the big thing for me, the very important thing was for me to stay in the hostel because that way, I could even just by walking into the room, I meet people. Even although it was funny because when I went to this hostel, when I first walked in there was no one in the hostel at all. And then I think that evening was when a bunch of people had shown up to the hostel. So it was really cool because then we could, like whoever wanted to could really talk. For me, I also found it was interesting because I remember there was this moment I was sitting outside of the hostel. There were benches on either side of the main door of the hostel. So I just sat there and I just was looking out at this beautiful bay, and I could see the fort on one side, and then just straight ahead of me I just see the beautiful water and just taking in all the mountains and the view. And then I'm just sitting there, and then people in the hostel will be coming and walking into the building, and by me sitting there, it opened me up for interaction. So there were actually a couple conversations I had just from me just sitting on that bench. People walk by, oh hey, how are you doing? I saw you earlier in there. And then we struck up a conversation. I met people from so many different places. Many people from like Sweden and Spain and Malaysia, like just people from everywhere, and it was just really cool to be able to have that experience. But again, like I didn't feel like I had to force anything, so it was very comfortable for me to do that. This trip also had just a lot of like moments where I'm just trying to understand how things work in Montenegro. So for me, for example, the way the bus system works, there was an incident involving the bus station. When I first was trying to get to Kotor from the capital of Montenegro, I was just trying to like point at tickets because I already knew that I mean I don't know Montenegrin, and I know they don't speak English, so or at least in this particular area, and I don't like to make that assumption anyway. So anyway, I'm pointing at tickets and I'm like pointing around, like asking about the bus. I'm like, which one? And then the guy's like, oh, and he'd give me like a signal, like wait, like it's coming. So then I get directed to go onto one of the buses. But the funny thing was when he finally was like, and he signaled to me, and so then I went to get on the bus. And I was sitting on the bus and stuff like that. And I remember feeling a little kind of nervous. I'm like, I'm not so sure I'm on the right bus. And I just feel that way no matter what, no matter where I am, but particularly in another country where I don't understand anything in the language and what's going on and what that ticket meant. I felt even more uncomfortable. And the funny thing was, like, maybe a minute or two after I was sitting there, the two guys, including the guy I had talked to, or tried to talk with, they both got on the bus and they were pointing at me like, hey, and they like signaled for me to come there. And they were saying basically that I wasn't on the right bus. And so fortunately the girl next to me spoke a little bit of English, and they were able to interpret what was going on. And he was like 5 minutes. He's like 5 minutes. And so then fortunately I got off the bus just in time, because that bus was about to take off. And so I'm glad that he paid attention to where I was and where I was trying to go, because otherwise I don't even know where that bus was going, but it just made for an interesting experience. But anyway, when I got off the bus and the guy, he laughed and like he patted my arm, and he's like, oh, and like I just like laughed too. And it was just a fun moment, because even though we don't speak the same language, like I think it's so interesting how we can still have like some type of connection. And I thought that was really cool. I've experienced that in other countries as well. And it's so nice, because I think it's so interesting how people, even if you guys don't speak the same language, there still can be something there. So, so this trip was full of a lot of charming moments like that. I'll save some of them. I'll save some of them for another video too. But I just wanted to come on here and share that, because these experiences, I don't know, I've reflected a lot on this trip, and I've had so many lessons learned from this trip too. Even just when I was climbing up the rocks, I was trying to go through that. You may see in the video that small little, like, you saw the light coming through that fort wall. I had to climb through there, and the crazy thing was, like, I'm scared of climbing rocks, especially with poor equipment. I had like basic shoes that look like Vans, if anybody knows what those are. I don't own Vans, but they were like basic shoes like that, and just trying to navigate that. And I had my stuff with me, just trying to like get through there. I was so nervous about climbing that, because I was alone, and I'm like, if I fall or something like that, like, I don't know what's going to happen. It's not easy to get up to that fort. So it was like, man, if I do something damaging, this is going to be really awkward getting down. But fortunately, nothing happened. Like, I felt very accomplished having just climbed through there. And there were actually, I've seen quite a few families, or a few people after, when I was heading back, I saw some people getting in there as well. So it was really cool to see, like, other people were trying this too. But yeah, it was very intimidating at first. And I remember having that moment. I was standing right next to it. Or standing in the rocks next to it, like, just looking up at that place I knew I needed to climb through. And I remember thinking, like, this is like a big breaking point for you, and like, this is a big breaking point. Like, either you can stand here and just turn around and just go back where you came from, and go spend 40 minutes or however long it took for me to hike back down the mountain, or you can really make this like a big moment. And I was just so proud of myself for having done that, because I'm actually scared of heights. I'm scared of a lot of things. But the main thing is, I want to push myself, because I think the experiences that can be had are so much bigger than my fear. And because of that, I had interesting conversations with people up there. The view was spectacular alone. Like, the view alone was amazing. And it just, like, I think always just feeling that I've challenged myself is a very positive feeling. So that was a big lesson for me, a big moment for me. And then, then I just looked forward to, I was just in reflecting on the bus ride, and then looking forward to whatever I could discover in the next city. But this seriously is a beautiful country. It just like stole my heart. Whenever I think about this country, when I look at the pictures, if I look at the videos, I feel nothing but relaxed. So it's definitely a place that I'd highly recommend. It's worth going to. And so anyway, I wanted to come in here and share that. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm still very new at this. This footage is actually from back in September. So been on a couple other trips since then, and I'll be working on getting that footage together. I'm working on improving my filming. I have a long way to go, so I'll be the first one to admit it. But the main thing is just for me to start and then improve in time, like people do with so many other things. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll have another video for you soon. In the meantime, I hope you take care. Bye for now.